Hello, welcome to another drive-in double feature. I'm Ryan,
I'm Nathan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before I get into anything at all, we have a Patreon over at patreon.com/drive-in double feature podcast. Just so much content on there that it makes me absolutely sickened how much we just were giving to you for those $5 a month.
Yeah,
It just hits me right in the pit of my stomach. It's just
you're still feeling
true.
it from sick, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just I'm gonna have to get tested now.
Oh my God.
But please check out the Patreon. Don't worry, it does not affect any regular content that we do. Today we are talking about 1987's Mannequin, directed by Michael Gottlieb. It is it's about a little mannequin that comes to life.
Yeah, and it's a romantic comedy between a mannequin and a man.
Wait, this was
What
a comedy?
you were laughing? What do you think it was, an erotic thriller?
I
Oh
mean,
no, James Spader's gonna catch us. It's gonna
I
be like
thought
Crash.
I thought it was going to be like another horror movie. That's why I thought I accidentally picked another horror movie
Oh
because
God, could you
I was
imagine?
I was so scared during this movie.
It's November, Ryan. We can't watch horror movies in November. You know this.
Yeah, only during Christmas.
Exactly. Yeah. But
But
yeah, have you seen this movie before?
no, no.
No? Okay.
I just I was just looking about like what would be. I was trying to think of like what like the polar opposite would be of all these horror
Mm-hmm.
movies that we're talking about, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, that sounds about right. Like mannequin that comes to life in romantic comedies.
Yeah, no, and I think it was a good cleansing that we might have needed. I don't know.
Yeah, probably so. But
Hmm.
the movie does star Andrew McCarthy and it does star Kim Cattrall. So
From Sex and the City? Oh my God.
no, from Ghost Rider.
Oh God. She's in Ghost Rider? I don't even remember that.
Yeah, the Roman Polanski Ghost Rider.
I thought you were talking about the Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider comic book movie.
No, really? No,
Yeah. Okay.
it,
The Roman Polanski movie. Okay.
uh, Ghost Rider, like writing with a
Yes.
pen.
That's really fun. I heard Ghost Rider. I was like, she's not in that. What are you talking about? Uh,
She's there in spirit.
that's such a Samantha thing. So I
Yeah.
get it. Yeah. But
Who?
from Sex and the City. Come on. You're being such a
I
Miranda right now, Ryan.
I'll take your word for it. Hey, there's a Mr. Big and Sex and the City and James Bond.
You're right. Wow, this is a really good combo. I'm into it.
But we'll
Um,
save that for the Sex and the City podcast.
we'll get there
Uh,
one day, episode by episode.
but uh, but no, it is very much a romantic comedy. A
Mhm.
little more on the zanier side than I
Yeah, it's
expected.
really goofy.
Like I was expecting, like guy that meets, falls in love with the mannequin, it comes to life, and they just kind of getting like these little like like they get on this real whimsical romance type of thing, like
Hmm.
something like maybe like a 16 candles or
Yeah,
something like that, Pretty in Pink. But no, this movie is like almost airplane level of comedy, like not
yeah,
in terms of quality but just in terms of zaniness.
yeah. It's like a goofball comedy. And I agree. I wasn't expecting it. Like goofball in terms of like stunts being performed. There's like that one part where the sign falls like from the building and he's swinging on it back and forth, and that's like something out of like a silent comedy. I was like, it was really surprising. I never expected Andrew McCarthy to be doing something like that either. What an interesting pick. I mean, he was famous then, really, really popular.
Yeah, I mean, he's hadn't gotten to Weekend at Bernie's yet, but I think he was the love interest in Pretty in Pink by this point, I believe. So
Yes, yeah.
he definitely was not an unknown. So,
Hmm.
and what I was reading, like there were I guess they're going for like an older star for this movie at one point. What I read is that the original love interest for the movie was supposed going to be Dudley Moore.
Oh. So like a 10 deal, I guess.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Arthur works at a at a department store.
No, it wouldn't have worked. And not that I hate Dudley Moore or anything, but I just don't. I don't see it.
Well, I don't know. It might have worked.
Okay, you're a Dudley Moore sympathizer, I guess.
What did he do that was
I don't know what
bad?
I'm just saying things. But I guess. Well, I think I might be saying that because contrary to popular opinion, Ryan, I really like this movie. Is it a good
Oh,
movie? Is it a good movie? No. But did I have a ton of fun while watching it? Oh yeah. I had so much fun.
eh, to me, it's like I didn't. I was more kind of perplexed at a lot of stuff than anything.
Okay, yeah.
I can't say I like the movie. So we're gonna.
Mhm.
This is another differing opinions, but
Yeah.
I there was so much in here that I just thought was so odd. Like so like the movie starts so Kim Cattrall, she's actually like an Egyptian princess, you know.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, that's what I think of when I see Kim Cattrall, just Egypt. So
Oh yeah, spitting image.
and, and she's apparently like a time traveler.
Yeah,
Like
she's talking to the gods and is like, "Can I please not have to be a part of like this marriage system?" She's a tough girl. She wants to fly one day, and I guess the gods grant her wish.
she does. And the move and then she teleports all of a sudden. And then the movie goes for like the animated opening intro. And
Hmm.
I thought they were just like, oh well, we're just gonna be kind of kooky and we're gonna do animated stuff because it's the 80s or whatever. But then later in the movie, she references stuff that happens in the intro,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh wait, that was canon? Like I was supposed to be paying attention to that stuff?
Yeah, no, I thought the same thing. Because like movies did that in the 80s. Wasn't there a Honey I Shrunk? What didn't Honey I Shrunk the Kids open with an animated sequence and stuff
They
like
did.
that?
Yeah,
And
a lot of movies did.
yeah, and yeah, I thought it was silly, but no, I guess it really was her time traveling because I thought the movie was setting up that the gods for whatever reason time traveled her to 1987, which I mean, I guess technically they still kind of did, right? Because she ended up going there as a mannequin.
Yeah, and she ended up, I guess, dating somebody in each one of those historical periods because they said like, oh, like my boyfriend Chris
Chris
was
Columbus.
yeah, he was sailing and I told him the world wasn't flat and then I never saw him again.
Yeah, and then I think Andrew McCarthy's like Christopher Columbus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah, no, it's like really like silly, like the idea, like that idea of her being a time traveler, and for whatever reason now she's in a mannequin and only one man can see her at a time is so like high concept for a romantic comedy and like just it's completely bizarre.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was going to be something like she gets a curse put on her or something,
Hmm.
and then she turns into a statue or a mannequin, and she's frozen like that for centuries. But um, that's not the case. Apparently, she's able. But then, like, how does she? So, because when the movie after the opening credits sequence, it cuts to Andrew McCarthy in a mannequin factory, and he creates her.
Exactly. Yeah. And then she's like, oh, it felt so good when you did it. And he is making the scariest looking mannequin, by the way, because it does look a lot like her.
Well, yeah, but first off, when that scene starts, I immediately start laughing because I don't. It just was so weird to me. Like they immediately stopped the opening credits, and then like bam, right away they start playing "I've Got Sunshine." It's just like
I
these,
know.
like
And then they're all
the
dancing like in there. Like there's like a
yeah.
guy who doesn't show up again the rest of the movie. He just has one bit where he's just dancing across the screen. I don't know. It felt like like that felt like an 80s movie, like an old classic tune, and then everybody's dancing to it. But at the beginning of the movie.
And like I think we've all seen a mannequin before, but
Mm-hmm.
did you notice like all these mannequins, like for whatever reason, like they look way too anatomically correct?
I was gonna say that, yeah, we're very, very anatomically correct. I was gonna say Kim. I think it's Emmy. Yeah, is the name of the mannequin. Her breasts look way too real on that mannequin.
Well, to the fact where like I've seen mannequins before, like they don't have like defined nipples. It's just
No,
like
it's
or
like
if
a
they do,
rounded deal.
it's like either rounded or like like a tiny bump or something like that.
Hmm.
But this one, it's like they're so detailed with the areola and the nipple, and it's painted too. And
Uh-huh.
it's
But
like, and even the butt of the mannequin, it was like perfectly sculpted, like
yeah.
not this, like just rounded figure like you see on and like thank God they didn't show the front part of it because that would be. I wonder
Well, I think
if
that's what's funny is like because Jonathan Switcher, the main character, his whole deal is like I guess he gets fired from jobs all the time because he's an artist. And he's like, oh, I spent like how long? Like 4 weeks on this. I can maybe get
yeah,
two more done this month. So this man,
yeah.
I think he's just like, he needs a little he needed a mannequin. I mean, and that maybe proposes that he actually was crazy the whole time.
Yeah, and he gets unemployed. That's and then like he has a little montage where he's jumping from job to job and
Hmm.
he ends up screwing up in some way. And it's supposedly a guy who's living paycheck to paycheck. They cut later in the movie and he's got like this massive loft apartment
Of course,
too.
yeah.
Like I'm like, where's all this money coming from?
I don't know. Yeah, because I thought the same because he can't even afford. He has like a girlfriend named Roxy at one point in the movie, and he can't even afford to like take her out because she's like, "Oh, can we go get dinner?" He's like, "Oh, we can get a street hot dog or something." Also, you notice this man wears bowling shoes?
I did notice that because I looked at it because I when he's pushing his motorcycle in the rain, I
Hmm.
was like, "Are their feet different color?" And I was like, "No, those are bowling shoes." And
Yeah, which I mean, I thought that was like you said, he's poor. That's all he like stole some bowling shoes, but like you said, he can afford a huge apartment in the city.
yeah, one thing I want to point out, which was another weird scene, was when um, uh, the kid he's like a balloon sculptor, and he like ties like all the balloons and stuff for like a kid's birthday party,
Hmm.
and the kid's like wants a giant balloon, so he gives it to him, and the kid starts flying away. And he grabs the kid, like to like make sure the kid doesn't fly away.
Hmm.
And then his dad runs over and he's like, "Hey, biscuit brain, let go of my kid." And he's just like, "Okay," and he just
Yeah.
lets go, and the kid flies away.
Uh-huh. Another bit, there was like a part of that I thought was funny. The kid calls him Biscuit Brain, and the dad calls him Biscuit Brain too. I
Yeah,
think this is the point in the movie, like where I really was like, oh, it's gonna be like this. Like the humor is gonna be like, I guess, just nonsensical. We're not grounded to anything here, and I think that's partly why I enjoyed it. I was just seeing jokes like that, and it was just so like odd that this was like this. Like you said, it could have been easily a romantic comedy. It could have been something easy, but like instead it goes for these like crazy, crazy jokes.
and the guy that plays the security guard in this movie, G.W. Bailey, who I
Hmm.
recognize from the Police Academy movies,
Hmm. Yeah.
and he's in this movie, and he gave an interview about it where like they would do like sort of like a normal take, and then they would just do like these really big like bombastic type of
Oh,
performances,
gotcha.
or they would do like these really ridiculous scenes, and he was just like we didn't think like this was actually going to come out, and then And then they ended up releasing it, and he said, but the people really seem to like it, so
It's like the whole story with Doctor Strangelove, where he like tricked George C. Scott into acting like huge, and he kept him
yeah.
in the movie. James Spader is in this as the bad guy. He runs a department store and he wants to get Andrew McCarthy fired in, and I love James Spader in this. This is I've not seen James Spader do this kind of role. He plays like a nerdy, like gross dude with slicked back hair, and he is hamming it up, man.
Yeah, he's in there hamming it up. Like I said,
Hmm.
the security guard is in there. He's hamming it
Hmm.
up as well.
Yeah,
Um, and like I said before, we have a returning actor, and that is Estelle Getty from "Don't Stop or My Mom Will Shoot."
and that's it. That's the only thing she's from. Uh,
Nothing else.
in
But no,
this,
she. Well, yeah, this was during the height of her fame. This was
yeah.
during Golden Girls, so very
I
popular sitcom.
if there was somebody who gets downplayed in this movie, it's Estelle Getty. She doesn't. She's in it. She doesn't do a crazy amount in this movie.
She's the straight man of the movie.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
the straight little old lady.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. They she has her moments, but yeah, she's pretty much like the most grounded one. But
Mhm.
like that, how they meet is when Switcher Jonathan is up there, he's
Mhm.
swinging back and forth, and she's like, "Oh," because he saves her from the sign falling, like
Mhm.
from the scene you're referencing, and he's swinging around like, "Oh my gosh!" And
Mhm.
she's like, well, "How can I ever repay you? Just give me a job." Well, for with what? He's like, "Anything."
Yeah,
So
and then he starts delivering women's like lingerie everywhere, which is also how Estelle Getty's husband dies from a heart attack being in the lingerie section.
well, that was the gag. It's like
Mhm.
he died how any man wanted to be in women's lingerie, and he's like, "Huh?" Thinking that this guy was dying while wearing women's lingerie, but he was
Mhm.
in the women's lingerie department. So
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, because that would be wrong. Uh,
would it?
in 1987. Well, no, well, actually, I guess one of the interesting things about this movie is this movie has a very, very gay character in it. God, what's his name?
Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood, who I think is over the top, but like in an endearing way. I thought he was a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's really nice in
Yeah,
here because Jonathan, he really doesn't have any friends,
no,
and but he really likes mannequins, and like I said, that was like the big hook is that when he got the job at this department store, the mannequin that he made, the Kim Cattrall mannequin, she's there, she's
yeah.
at the department store,
Hmm.
and he wants to like pay all these attention to her, give her all this time, and Hollywood just assumes that he has like a mannequin fetish, and
Yeah,
he's just like, hey, whatever you want to do, whatever floats your boat,
that's what I
have a
love
good
about
time.
he catches Switcher like making out with this mannequin. He's like, it's okay. You can do what you want. You can get some wood if you need to. And it's just, hey, he's supportive of this weirdo.
I I like there's a little scene too because Hollywood's always fretting about his boyfriend. It's like
Mhm.
Albert says my thighs are too fat. Do my look at my thighs? Look at my thighs. And he's like,
Yeah,
they're fine, I guess.
yeah. I think like he says, I need to lose weight, or he needs to get like liposuction, and Switcher's like, a diet's okay. That'll be good.
But
Um,
those jelly donuts just called to me
yeah.
in the middle of the night.
One one thing I love is that the mannequin, because he accidentally makes like one of the best like store displays with mannequins, and that's kind of becomes Andrew McCarthy's like stardom. How he gets like famous in the company is from insane um these insane displays that he does. And let me tell you, these are like crazy. I don't know where they get the supplies for these. They are so elaborate, like the one with the bus and people in the street. There's like one where
Yeah.
they're biking in the window and stuff. It is absolutely crazy.
Well, that's what they think. So they make those window display, and I'm gonna say like that first one. It's not. so impressive. Like, I
No.
would like if it's just these two people in tennis outfits, and then the whole crowd is a crowd of tennis rackets, like wearing polos.
Yeah. Which it's like
But
interesting, but not like
I,
wow.
it's interesting. I would look at it for like, you know 10-20 seconds, be like, huh, okay, and then I just keep walking.
But these people are standing here looking all day at this.
Right, they're standing there looking there all day, and they're at first they're like James Spader's character, because there's a rival company that's trying to
Hmm.
purchase the department store so that way they can get more capital. And James Spader is kind of like the mole on the inside, like trying to make sure this deal goes through so he can get a better position. And
Yeah.
he's at first James Spader's like, why let's just fire him. We don't want people standing in front of our store. Which I'm like, isn't that the whole point? Like, that's the whole point. You want people going to the store, and like Estelle Getty had to point out, like, well, what if they go inside though? That's good.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I thought that was funny because like he wants her to like sell the company for like 10% of what it's worth, and he's like constantly in her ear, like it's a great deal, you should take it. I think they had the whole boardroom meeting to get the guy fired, and he's the only one who's for getting him fired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but I mean, we didn't even talk about the main romance, or we haven't talked about their main romance yet between
And
Switcher and
Roxy.
and Roxy. No.
So,
Roxy breaks up with him and she's off doing her own thing. No, with the mannequin. Um, which is a bunch of because only he can see her. So it's not like they can do a lot together. So everything they do is within the confines of the mall. So they pretty much just hang out and chill. And there's a really crazy montage. Of course, it's a montage and a romantic comedy. They dress up as things like the one where he's smoking and she's like, mm-mm-mm, and has to show some legs to stop him from smoking. It's just like really bizarre scenarios, and it's really long.
I was gonna say, if you love like whimsical montages, this is it. Like
Yeah,
this movie is filled with montages, and
constantly.
that's part of the reason why I was kind of getting over it at a certain
Mm-hmm.
point. I'm like, okay, I get it. They're having a good
Mm-hmm.
time, but and I never really felt like their romance was really went anywhere other than like he was happy that she existed.
I did feel that, like, there was like, I personally, I feel like they had a connection. Like, they always talk about it in movies, two stars having chemistry. I felt like they had chemistry, but as far as like the movie goes, they don't really go through any trials. They don't go through like development of like, oh, I need to get to know you. She just comes to life, and it's like, we're in love now. I love you.
Yeah, and I mean, she's kind of like she's being a little realistic. She's kind of saying like, "Oh, well, don't get used to this because it could end at any moment," type of thing.
Hmm.
And he's just like, well, "What are you talking about?" And then that's just that aspect is never really explored. Where because I thought it was going to be something like she was tying him down, and it was going to be like some type of
Hmm.
thing where it was going to be like, I can't be with you because I'm keeping you here, and you need to go out and explore, or something like that. Like,
Hmm.
you don't want to be held back, sort of thing. Because, but that's not what happens at all. And instead, what happens is that his window displays are so popular because he
Hmm.
makes a new one each night. He ends up getting promoted to vice president within like a week of being there.
Yeah, yeah. And then the rival company, they have plans to steal the mannequin away because I guess there's some pictures taken of him with this mannequin in the mannequin form, with the mannequin on top of him.
And I never understood how that could be blackmail per se. I mean, like, yeah, it's a little embarrassing, I guess, but like, it's not like he's doing anything. Him and the mannequin are both fully clothed. The
Hmm.
mannequin's like laying on top of him, and the security guard is clearly in the photo. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so I'm like, where's the blackmail? I don't understand what's going to be so. This guy has been unemployable for like his whole life. Like, you really think like this is going to hold him back?
He's a freak. That's why.
I
that,
guess.
I don't know either. And I mean, like, it's not like the blackmail even means anything really, because like he cares so much about that mannequin. He just goes over there. It's like, where is she? Where and she gets like, and that's where the climax of the movie is. Because I do like that Roxy's character keeps popping up, and he keeps on like he's with this mannequin. I think at one point he has it behind him on the motorcycle, and it's just in mannequin form hanging on to him.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
Um, I was gonna say though, like, do you think Roxy's a little justified in what she's doing? I mean, maybe not like towards the end of the movie, but like he doesn't treat her right at all. Like in the beginning of the movie, I don't feel like
No, and I mean, like, she has the right to, like, he can't hold down a job support. Like, I mean, like, I get it. I get it. Don't get me
he
wrong.
can't show up, and then like he pretty much like ghosts her, like when the mannequin becomes alive.
Exactly. And she's even willing, like, without really knowing about the mannequin, she's like, oh, you know what? Let's reconnect. Let's talk again. And he even shows up for that. But, and then come to find out he's obsessed with a mannequin. I mean, like, you got to think, like, oh, so like Lars and the real girl. Like, something's wrong here. Something's not going quite right.
Hey, don't judge, okay?
Okay. Yeah. Do you have a real girl with you? Oh, yeah. I see
You're
her
right,
back
right.
there.
You're right. You
Mm,
see there, right there in the back room.
yeah. Hi.
She's shy. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, God. Anyway,
Yeah.
I, but yeah, I mean, obviously, then it's like she goes, takes it too far, and then she ends up becoming one of the villains of the movie. And
Yeah.
there's like this guy that's a total sex pest too. What that's like
That
constantly like
works with her.
yeah, like constantly like let's just go back to my apartment and have sex. Like it's with that amount of subtlety.
Yeah, exactly. He's
Like
like, you got to see the way my tongue works. And it's like on his knees in front of her, like begging her. And I mean, at least she like slaps him and like, get away from me. But they end up being buddy buddy. So I don't know.
well, yeah, I mean, after by the end of the movie, he's constantly begging her, and she's finally like, "Fine, let's do it. Like, let's just get it over with." And then, you know what? He couldn't perform. He couldn't rise to the occasion.
Wow,
And then he, and then
poor
he,
fella.
and then he blames it on her. It's like it's obviously your fault.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. And then but I guess like the end of the movie, like you said, she ends up being the bad guy. She ends up taking the mannequin and then somehow finds her way to like the mannequin crushing zone. It was like a giant trash compactor. And this is
Well,
the climax.
well, yeah, you got to mention too, because when they go and steal the mannequin, they don't know which mannequin it is, so they're like,
Yes, yeah.
let's steal all the female mannequins.
Yeah, which is funny because like that only leaves like a few at the like the window at the beginning of the day. But
Yeah,
like,
so
oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say they just have like a giant room of like female mannequins.
Yeah, and she takes like a whole bunch of them and puts them on this conveyor belt that leads to the garbage. And luckily, Emmy is the very last mannequin that could be destroyed, so it lasts a while.
I so this is probably like the funniest part of the movie for me
Hmm.
was towards the end of the movie because there's a janitor there and he
Hmm.
sees the mannequin like dump over the edge, and then Jonathan like jumps over and saves her at the last possible second,
Hmm.
and this somehow turns her into a human.
I
And
see that didn't make sense to me. That the gods were just like, yeah, she can be human now, right before she dies.
yeah, she's human. That no kiss or anything like that, and then anyway, she comes out and she's a real person.
Hmm.
And the janitor just like, huh? And then he just starts picking up all the mannequins and starts kissing them like it's gonna come to life.
Yeah, no, and yeah, because I think he starts kissing Roxy, right? And
Well, yeah, because she gets
yeah,
dumped
in
like
the trash.
a bunch of the trash gets dumped on top of Roxy, and then he thinks that Roxy was a mannequin that came to life.
Yeah, that made me laugh. I thought that was a funny bit. There one of the parts that I laughed at probably the most was right before that. There's like a scene where Hollywood sprays all the cops away with a hose, and that's how they stay back. But he finally runs out of water, and it's just one line from James Spader, one line as they're leaving, and they're not going after Hollywood, and he just says, "Why don't you shoot him?" He just says, "Shoot him." And I don't know. There's something about just James Spader just being like, "Kill him, shoot him."
Yeah.
Like it's so brutal.
Shoot this guy that's spraying us with a hose.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought that was funny. But yeah, I mean, it all ends happily. They get caught. They know what's going on, that James Spader was playing for the wrong side, and everything works out for everyone except for
Well,
the bad guys, of course.
yeah, and it's funny because Estelle Getty reveal, like, because I like it too, because she's at the rival company, like she knew to follow them for whatever reason, like I knew to
Mhm.
come here type of thing, like.
Yes.
And she says, because she fires the security guard and James Spader because they're in cahoots together, and she's
Hmm.
like, she installed a security camera, and it's like, I saw all your crimes, I got them all on tape. And Jonathan Switcher is thinking like, uh-oh, because earlier in the movie there was a sex scene where
Yep.
him and Emmy have sex right in the middle of the department store, and people again think it's like part of the window display.
Yeah. And
And
with just him naked in bed.
yeah, and Estelle Getty, he goes over to Estelle Getty, and he's like, did you record everything? And she just kind of like grins, is like, I saw what I needed to see. And
And then like nudges him.
yeah, it's like, again, Estelle Getty having, like, I guess because she's just like little old lady, like in
Mm.
Don't Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, where she's like commenting on her son like
I'm
sexual prowess.
I'm a woman too, you know.
Yeah, now I may be a mother, but I'm a woman. I'm like,
No
ugh.
lines like that, luckily.
Yeah, no, I mean, at least she's not related to this character.
Exactly. She can do what she wants. At least it's a random guy.
You're
Um,
right.
yeah. But
Uh,
it ends with a marriage, and I don't know if you felt this way. This is one of those movies that, of course, ends with a freeze frame, and I felt like it was like one of the worst freeze frames I've seen in a movie. God, yeah, Andrew McCarthy has a big smile on his face, but Kim Cattrall there has the dumbest look. Like they caught her at like the worst time for a photo. You might have not noticed it, but go.
I didn't notice that. No, I take your word for it.
Yeah. Um,
Uh, and then, so the movie's over at this point, and then this movie plays the Jefferson Starship song,
oh yes,
uh,
yeah.
and this movie is an Oscar nominated movie.
Woo, yeah. Yes, it is for this song, which like we talked
Nothing's.
about before. Oh yeah, nothing's gonna stop us now.
Mm-hmm.
Which is more popular than the movie. I can 100% say that that song is still like you hear that all the time.
Yeah, that's they have, like, what I think the music video for the song is just like a movie montage, I
Oh,
believe.
one
So
of those. Gotcha.
yeah, so something like that. But I was gonna try to see. Okay, so this was actually a pretty the one that it lost against was "Time of My Life" from Dirty Dancing. So
Oh, that's a tough competition.
that was so.
Yeah.
If it was any other year, probably would have won. But
Yeah, yeah, but when I think of like movie song, that yeah, that I get that win. That's an understandable win.
that's kind of like what it is. Like, you've noticed, like in the '80s, like I feel like now you don't really get chart toppers like at nominate for best original song.
No, it happens sometimes. Like I think about Skyfall, which was an odd
Skyfall.
chart topper, and then that Lady Gaga song from Top Gun.
I,
Uh,
that one I can understand, and Skyfall, because it's like Adele and Lady Gaga. It's just like
exactly.
two huge talents where
Yeah,
it's just you can't ignore them.
but like over the years, it's like either it's like from Disney movies, or like songs from like movies that you didn't even see. I don't know. I totally agree. In the 80s, if it was an Oscar nominee, you bet you it was going to be on the charts.
I forget what it was. It was like 1984. It's like the Ghostbusters theme was nominated, and like all these other like really.
Understandable.
And then Stevie Wonder, that Stevie Wonder song, "I'll called to say I love you." That one won that year or something like that. It was just
Okay.
like these list of like these insane songs that are like
Yeah.
that are, just
But
like people remember.
but that's from a different era because like I've actually thought about this before how like blockbusters back in the day were prepackaged with a song. Like you think about like Robin Hood with the Bryan Adams song and like
Mm-hmm.
it was like a big movie's out, you have a song to go with it. Even Titanic did that. So like
Yeah.
that's not really a thing anymore. Sometimes, but not all the time.
The other one I think of an example of that is the Armageddon with the Aerosmith song.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And that yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, going back to the movie,
Yeah.
I, I mean, I wasn't a big fan of it to be honest, but it's a really harmless movie. I mean, I personally wouldn't recommend it because a lot of the comedy didn't land with me, but
Mm-hmm.
um, it's like I said, it's not god awful or anything like that. It's not like watching Mac and Me where it's just like this is torturous to watch or anything like that. So
Yeah, I mean I read reviews and like reviews at the time were like brutal. Like I got a couple quotes because like Leonard Maltin said it was rock bottom affair, dispiriting for anyone who remembers what movie comedy should be. Roger Ebert said
wow.
a lot of bad movies are fairly throbbing with life. Mannequin is dead. The wake lasts an hour and a
Whoa.
half.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like brutal and like yeah, yeah, Mannequin is one of the stupidest movies ever conceived and one of the worst. I don't see it. I mean, here's the thing. I can see why it's not a well-liked movie, but personally, I thought it was charming. I thought it was a cute movie. Like you said, fairly harmless. I thought it was silly and I had a good time with it. I
Yeah.
not perfect, but it's fine. It's silly.
Yeah. So I mean for me it would be a light not recommend. It's
Mhm.
but like I said, not the worst way to spend your time either. So
But yes, I actually recommend it. I actually think you should give it a try, even if you don't like it. It's an interesting experience.
yeah. Well, we're gonna shut the book on Mannequin for now.
Hmm.
And we're gonna move on to our next week because nothing's gonna stop us now with our Tuesday pick, which is what, Nathan?
We're continuing Bondzilla week with Octopussy. Yes, I said it. I said Octopussy. And let me make sure that's not streaming anywhere.
I think it's on Prime right now.
Perfect. Yep. And that is streaming over on Prime.
Terrific. Cannot wait to get back into the James Bond spirit. But if you have any thoughts and opinions of this podcast, please email us over at driveanddoubleFeaturePodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to X us on X at x.com with DIDF pod. And check out the Patreon once again at patreon.com/driveanddoubleFeaturePodcast. But until next time.
Until next time.